Welcome, fellow Lions fans. We got a great win in Arizona. First, I want to start with some apologies. Apologies to Sam Darnold, as I was not familiar with your game. He's now 3-0 after beating the Texans and throwing for 4 TDs, and now he's an MVP candidate. Now I don't feel so bad about losing 48-17 in his first ever game, but still, fuck you, Matt Patricia. Also, apologies to Malik Willis, who won a second straight game for the Packers. Plot twist, the Packers' third straight Hall of Fame quarterback is not going to be Jordan Love, but rather Malik Willis. Nobody saw this coming. We should have drafted him number 2 overall. I mean, Hutch only had 1 sack last game. I'm not going to apologize to Terry Arnold, though, who I advised last week to stop banging the refs' wives. He clearly did not listen, as he got another PI this week, which is now 4 in 3 games. I know you're a young, virile, energetic, good-looking dude, but come on, man. In all seriousness, though, Tyrion played great, shut down Marvin Harrison Jr. against the Cardinals, but he should still stop fucking the refs' wives. I'm Jimmy Liao, University of Michigan Medical School grad, board certified in family medicine. This is the medical edition of the Detroit Lions podcast, where every week we're going to review all the injuries from the previous game as well as look forward to the next game. I'm back from Arizona now, where I was cooked to medium well in the brutal desert sun with temps around 100. Except for the heat, though, it was a very nice trip and the easiest place I've been to see a game. There are a ton of hotels within walking distance of the stadium with shockingly low rates. There's a big entertainment area next to the stadium. There's a large outlet mall as well, so lots to do without even having to drive. It looks like there might also be a casino resort under construction, which would add even more rooms. Driving around Phoenix was very easy. The land is flat everywhere, so the roads are all nice and straight. I saw a bunch of self-driving taxis that are called Waymos, not affiliated with JMO, I don't think, which sort of freaked me out as I've never seen that before. I was hoping to eat some scorpion there, as I discussed last podcast, but no luck with that. I didn't even see a scorpion. I did see lots of cacti. First time I saw saguaro cacti, which was pretty cool. I also saw a bunch of lizards, saw the Lions beat up on the Cardinals, and also saw Khalif Raymond's mom because she was sitting right next to me. She told me she goes to every one of Khalif's games. She's originally from China, which is pretty cool. After the game, she got Khalif's gloves and gifted them to my kid, which was awesome. Those things are going in a frame on my kid's wall. So thank you to Khalif and Khalif's mom. You guys are both super nice and super awesome. Here are some thoughts from the game. The Lions' helmets look much more silver in person. They look sort of gray on TV. So the silver look really was nice. Also, the stands look much more blue in person, which was a little weird. Maybe it was because there were like 30,000 Lions fans there, though. The entire lower bowl behind the bench was basically all Lions fans. Jalen Reeves maybe had a personal foul. They showed more replays at the game than on TV, and it looked like the Cardinals wide receiver was still up, still moving forward and just lying on top of other Lions. It wasn't as egregious as a foul as it looked on TV. The sheer quantity of Lions fans was huge. It's the most of any game I've been to, more than Green Bay last year, more than Kansas City, more than the 49er playoff game. Really, the only comparable was the LA Chargers game last year, but everybody was wearing blue, so hard to say there. Almost half of the Lions fans were not wearing blue, which was interesting. So there were even more Lions fans than showed up on TV. I would encourage all road traveling fans to wear blue, even if it's not a Lions shirt, especially when we're playing teams that wear red or green. Really shows up great on TV with all that blue. For all those non-Lions fans who are wondering how there are so many damn Lions fans at all these away games, well, we've been saving up for 30 years to finally have a team worth traveling for. It's the magic of compounding, something those morons who showed up to Dan Campbell's house wouldn't have the brain power to comprehend. Now let's get to the injury report as well as discuss all the things I saw in the game. All the videos are on my Twitter highlights tab and also in one location on my Lions Wire article. So if you want to see videos and analyze it for yourself, Go check it out there. Let's start with Derek Barnes, who was placed on IR after being hit in the right knee. No good replay of it, but it looked like a lateral side hit, which can cause an MCL sprain. Dan Campbell afterwards said there was ligament damage and they need to see if it heals properly to see if surgery is needed. Unclear what this exactly means, but it does fit a possible MCL tear. Even complete grade 3 tears can heal without surgery. If it's a grade 3, maybe we're talking about 8 weeks. If it's only a partial tear, 4 to 6 weeks, there are complications of MCL tears that can necessitate surgery though, such as a distal tear, an avulsion fracture, and entrapment of a ligament. These are the things that the Lions might be waiting to see how healing goes before considering surgery. We've already had 2 players, John Kominski and Connor Galvin, get MCL surgeries this year, which is a bit unusual. There are other possibilities here, such as a partial ACL tear or a PCL tear. We'll wait for the official diagnosis before discussing further. Marcus Davenport was also placed on IR due to a left elbow injury, and he's reportedly out for the year. His forearm on video was chopped down while his elbow was in flexion, which could cause an elbow flexor tear. The muscles here that could be affected are the biceps and the brachialis. The biceps is the visible showcase muscle that gets the babes, but the hidden brachialis is actually the stronger muscle. That's because the biceps crosses 2 joints, the elbow and the shoulder. From a physics standpoint, it just can't generate as much force as the brachialis, which only crosses 1 joint, the elbow. The biceps is like Bryce Young, the flashy high-profile first overall pick that doesn't do shit, while the brachialis is like Andy Dalton, the lowly journeyman that nobody thinks about, but actually gets shit done. Now let's move on to guys that are on the injury report. Brian Branch with the limited practice and LP concussion. The LP on the first report means he's asymptomatic and he's already starting to progress through the 5-step NFL protocol. If he has another LP on Friday, that means he hasn't had any setback and really is on track to play. If he gets to an NP, that means he did have a setback, he got symptoms, and he'll be out for the game. Video looked like both players, the other player was Trey McBride, were trying to lead with the shoulder, but since the head is right next to the shoulder, sometimes you're still going to have the helmet collisions. On video and at the game, I didn't see any fencing. He may have had a brief LOC, loss of consciousness, but that's hard to say. It still might be a good idea to give him a week off, even if he passes through the protocol, because of a hit he took in Game 1. Recall that in that game, he took a hard hit to the side of the head, was down just briefly, but not diagnosed with a concussion. While there were no external signs of a concussion to warrant a diagnosis, mild concussions may only have vague symptoms that require self-reporting, like headache, nausea, and fogginess. Looking back, if he did indeed have some concussion symptoms, then that would be 2 in 3 weeks now, which might warrant some precaution like sitting him out for a game. Next is Sam Laporta with an NP, no practice, with a right low ankle sprain. Pretty clear on video that this was a low ankle sprain. He kept playing through it. On the sideline, I saw him moving around very well, very quick, no issues. The trainers were not spending much time with him, which is a good sign. Overall, I think very likely he plays this week, although he probably won't be 100%. Frank Ragnow has a left pec strain. He played 100% of snaps in the game. See my Lions Wire article for a real detailed analysis of pec injuries and his outlook. In summary, it's likely a grade 1 to 2 pec strain, which is a partial tear. Severity and location are going to determine the recovery time. Location at the tendon is more concerning because almost all pec complete ruptures are at the tendon. Hopefully, the tear is just of the muscle body. Severity is also a factor. If it's just a mild strain, he could be back pretty quickly. Dan Campbell stated on Thursday, we're going to put Frank down this week. After further clarification, Ragnow is apparently not being euthanized, and he could return for Week 6 versus the Cowboys. Aleem McNeil had an LP with a shoulder. Dan Campbell stated on Thursday, Aleem's doing better. He's day-to-day, so we're pretty good there. Great news for McNeil to be practicing already after missing the entire second half of the Cardinals game. The way he landed on his left shoulder might be a left AC joint sprain. He also did a swim move with his right shoulder, so maybe that's an issue as well. But it sounds like regardless, he's in for Monday. Alex Anzalone, a full practice after his concussion a couple weeks ago. He's definitely going to play. On the sidelines versus the Cardinals, he was mentally sharp, calling out defensive signals, pumping up the tens of thousands of Lions fans. He's fine to go. Dan Skipper had a no practice with ribs. Skipper early in the game landed on a defender's elbow, which likely caused a right rib bruise or strain. There's a small chance of a fracture, though. Unless something unexpected showed up on X-ray, like multiple rib fractures or something involving the lungs, I would expect him to be available on Monday. Ennis Rakestraw had a limited practice with a hamstring. He hurt this in pregame of week 2, and he's missed the past 2 games. Not putting him on IR meant that this was likely a short-term issue. He had 3 NPs last week, so it's great to see him have an LP today, which puts him on track to make his Monday Night Football debut this week. Levi Onwuzurike had a limited practice with a knee. He was hurt in the first quarter last game, and there was no video of the injury. Medical appeared to be examining his right knee, but on the sideline, he was moving around very well. He finished out the game without noticeable problems. With an LP early in the week, I expect him to play versus the Seahawks without a problem. Efatu Melifonwu, another no practice now with an ankle. He's likely out this week again. Hopefully the bye is going to help out his ankle as this has become a chronic issue. There are some guys unlisted that are notable. Terrion Arnold was hit in the right knee area last game, was gimpy significantly on the sideline. It looked bad on the sideline. It didn't look like anything serious as the trainers were trying to get him to work out and test it, but he was in clear discomfort. I was thinking he might not get back to play, but he returned to the game and played really well. Unlisted means there's no structural damage to the knee, and he may have just had a contusion, so great news there. Graham Glasgow was a surprise listing last week with a knee, but still played the entire Cardinals game. Good to see that he's not on the report this week. Let's move on to the Seattle Seahawks, who apparently have a philosophy of listing everybody on the roster. I don't have 3 hours to go through it all, so I'm just going to focus on the main guys. See my Twitter post or the Lions Wire article for the list of all the report. I'll focus on 5 or 6 main guys here. Leonard Williams had a no practice with ribs. He's a very important defensive end pass rusher. He left the last game with this injury. Williams is one of the Seahawks' star defenders, having signed a 3-year, $64.5 million contract in the offseason. Byron Murphy, the 16th overall pick this year, no practice with a hamstring. Reports are that he's expected to be out for this game. Kenneth Walker, limited practice with an oblique. He missed last game, but he's expected to be ready for Monday night. MSU and U of M fans are well aware of his capabilities. Michigan fans still remember Kenneth Walker single-handedly beating them a couple years ago. Uchenna Nwosu, no practice with a knee. He's an impact linebacker for the Seahawks. He sprained his MCL August the 24th in preseason and is yet to play in the regular season. His target return was this Monday night, but with the NP, I think that makes that much less likely. Boye Mafi, NP, he's a pass rusher. He played last game. He's got a knee issue, so this is one to watch as well. Notably unlisted is George Fant, the starting right tackle who was placed on IR a few days ago due to a right knee injury. This is now the 4th straight game the Lions' opponent is going to be missing a starting offensive tackle. That's the rundown of the injury report. I'm begging the Lions, can we please beat the Seahawks? I live in Washington State, which is Seahawks country. It's very annoying to keep losing to them. I've watched the Lions lose 3 times to the Seahawks in person. Twice was in Seattle. The first time was about 20 years ago when Joey Harrington came down. Lions got totally blown out. The only highlight was a long touchdown pass to Scotty Anderson. The second time was a couple years ago in January for a Tim Boyle debacle. They got blown out then as well. Watching Tim Boyle in person really makes you question your life decisions. Like, what terrible decisions did I make in my life to get to this point where I'm sitting in the rain watching Tim Boyle? And as far as the loud crowd noise in Seattle, no doubt the fans are great, but I'm not convinced that some of that crowd noise is not being fed back through the speakers. The DJ must be chewing ADHD pills all game there because he's yelling and blasting dance music at max the entire game. The music is much louder than any stadium I've been at. The only time it turns off is when the offense breaks the huddle, and then the music goes right back on 0.1 seconds after the play is over. The music and his yelling were so loud, I literally couldn't talk to the nice Seahawks fan sitting right next to me. My conspiracy theory is that the DJ conveniently forgets to turn off his mic sometimes. Apologies if I've offended any Seahawks fans, as they are great fans, but I'm going to need to sit in that DJ booth and see it for myself. The third time I went to see the Lions Seahawks was in Ford Field. This was a classic Rod Marinelli wuss fest, where the game was tied 6-6, and at the end of the fourth quarter, instead of letting Jason Hanson kick a long field goal to take the lead, he punted, and of course the Seahawks drove right down the field, kicked a field goal to win the game. Thank God now we have a coach with some testicles. Enjoy the game Monday night. I'll talk to you next week.